Before history began, kings ruled for thousands of years, and the ancient Sumerians wrote it all down. Imagine opening a document that starts with the words, "After kingship descended from heaven." That is not mythology. That is how one of the oldest texts ever written begins.
In 1906, a small clay prism was discovered in the ruins of ancient Nippur in what is now Iraq. It fit in the palm of a hand, but its contents would shake the foundations of how we understand human civilization. This was the Sumerian King List, a chronicle unlike anything the modern world had ever seen.
The list names the kings of Sumer in order, their cities, their dynasties, and most astonishingly, how long each king reigned. The first king, Alulim of Eridu, ruled for 28,800 years. His successor, Al-Algar, ruled for 36,000. And so it continues, reign after impossible reign, stretching back before the Great Flood into a time the Sumerians simply called the time before.
Before the flood, 8 kings ruled across 5 cities for a combined total of 241,200 years. These were not ordinary rulers. The text implies they were semi-divine beings who descended from the heavens themselves. Eridu, the oldest of all Sumerian cities, was their first seat of power. Archaeologists have confirmed that Eridu is indeed one of the oldest urban settlements ever excavated, a city that truly does stretch back to the very dawn of civilization.
Then, in the middle of the list, everything changes. 5 simple words shatter the age of gods. Then, the flood swept over. After those words, the reigns of kings dropped dramatically, from tens of thousands of years to mere hundreds, and then to ordinary human lifespans. It is as if something enormous reset the world, and the Sumerians remembered it. The parallels to the Book of Genesis are impossible to ignore. Both texts describe impossibly long-lived patriarchs before a world-destroying flood, followed by dramatically shortened lifespans afterward. The Sumerian King List predates the biblical accounts by at least 1,000 years. Scholars have debated ever since. Are these two versions of the same ancient memory, or do both traditions reach back toward a common, even older source?
But the King List is not simply a religious document. It is also a political weapon. Scholars now understand that different versions of the list were compiled by different city-states, each placing their own city at the center of the story. To hold kingship in Sumer was to hold divine authority. By tracing your royal lineage back to the gods, you weren't just claiming power, you were claiming the universe had ordained it.
Among the post-flood kings, one name stands out with haunting familiarity: Gilgamesh. Listed as the 5th king of Uruk, ruling for 126 years, Gilgamesh was long thought to be pure legend. The hero of humanity's oldest epic poem, a man who sought immortality and battled monsters. Then archaeologists began finding evidence, inscriptions, references, structural remains that suggest Gilgamesh may have been a real historical figure after all.
The Weld-Blundell Prism, the most complete version of the King List, is now housed in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. It is a 4-sided baked clay object barely 8 inches tall, yet it contains the framework of an entire cosmological history. Scholars have identified over a dozen ancient copies and fragments, each slightly different, suggesting this was a living document, revised and updated across centuries of Sumerian civilization.
What do we make of the astronomical reign lengths? Some scholars suggest they encode a calendar system, mathematical cycles tied to the movements of planets and stars. Others propose they represent dynastic ages rather than individual lifespans. A few fringe theorists have taken them literally, arguing they point toward a race of beings with vastly extended biology. Whatever the truth, the Sumerians themselves clearly believed these numbers meant something, and they wrote them down with great precision.
The deeper mystery of the Sumerian King List is not simply what it says. It is what it implies about human memory. These people were recording something they believed had truly happened. A time before structure, before law, before cities, a time when something else was in charge. And embedded within that belief is a feeling that haunts every ancient civilization we have ever found. That once, long ago, the world was different, and that we are the diminished descendants of a greater age. The Sumerian King List remains one of the most debated documents in all of ancient history. It is part political record, part mythological charter, and part echo of something we cannot yet fully explain. Whether those pre-flood kings were gods, legends, or symbols of something older still, they were remembered. In stone, in clay, in cuneiform pressed by human hands thousands of years ago. And through those hands, They reach all the way to us, whispering, "This is how it began."
If the past calls to you the way it calls to us, subscribe to History Retold, new mysteries every week.